Grandma's Boy has become one of the biggest cult classic comedies of the 2000s, but the movie almost looked completely different. It was originally supposed to be an entirely different film, and several of its iconic characters were supposed to be played by someone else. It all started with the initial script.
Barry Warnick wrote a draft, but it was a romantic comedy, PG-13. Sandler was like, dude, your first movie is not gonna be a romantic comedy. You gotta make it crazy.
But Adam Sandler wanted an additional writer on the project, and that's when he changed Nick Swardson's life forever.
I get a call from my manager, and he's like, hey, Adam Sandler wants to meet you. And they were like, wait, heard you're a writer. Adam's like, we have this movie and it fucking sucks. You can write yourself in the movie, whatever part you want. It was like brain diarrhea on cloud 9 for me. I had never been offered anything. They were like, it's a small movie, so you guys just make it insane. They were like, just have fun with it.
Funny enough, the script was actually based on real life events.
Years ago, my father had bypass surgery. My 87-year-old grandmother decided that she needed to be there as well. And so my father lived in a small condominium. It was me living with them in this small space. And like sneaking, I'm 30-something years old and I'm sneaking in at 1 in the morning like I'm in high school.
It wasn't just Alan Covert and Nick Swardson's first lead roles, but the Adam Sandler effect continued with the director as well.
I've been working with Sandman for a while now, since I was right out of high school, really. He's the greatest, and he's given me an opportunity here to finally direct my first feature.
So it was off to casting the film. They knew Alan and Nick would be playing the two leads, but there was one casting decision that would make or break the film, and that was the role of JP.
All I ever cared about were video games, and they've made me a millionaire. But I did beat The Legend of Zelda before I could walk. I'm thinking of getting metal legs. It's a risky operation, but it'll be worth it.
And finding the right fit was not easy at all.
The one note or contribution Fox supplied us was, this kid, Joel Moores, we could not find anyone who got it.
It was written as a child prodigy. So it was written for a 14, 15-year-old actor. So we were auditioning these people. My friend Debbie Liebling at Fox was like, hey, I know this guy's age isn't right for the role, but we really want you to read him. And it was so fucking good.
I think I took a moment and I was like, can you give me a version of this? And you were like, yeah, you just kind of talk normal and then you go into a fucking voice. And I go, got it.
There was a moment where I was gonna have to be JP because nobody could get it, but Joel nailed it.
But something really insane is that Joel almost never got the role, because they were originally planning on casting a star of one of the biggest sitcoms at the time.
We worked out a deal and his agent actually messed it up, but it was pretty close to being locked in for JP to be Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle.
I can relate. I've had agents screw me and their clients over many times when trying to cast them in one of my films. I have absolutely nothing against Frankie Muniz, but I just don't see him being anywhere near as iconic as Joel was as JP.
There's a reason why I'm the creator of EDS3 and you're just a tester. Eject! You'll never finish! This game is falling apart! No, it's not! Shut up!
The movie also had a very young Jonah Hill in his biggest role to date, which would have never happened if it weren't for an assist by the casting director.
Audition, before the door even closed, I was like, we have to get that dude. I don't want to see anybody else. And it was Jonah Hill.
Yeah. The casting director, Lisa, said to us, she goes, I saw this kid and he's not what you were looking for, but I think you guys might like him. There was something in the description and she was like, it's not what you asked for, but I brought him in anyway.
Yeah, he was great.
And by the time the movie was over, I was like, oh yeah, Jonah's gonna be huge.
But someone who was already a star when this movie was being cast was Doris Roberts, though Alan Covert thought she was nothing short of a pipe dream.
She's on Raymond. She's like on the #1 family comedy in
Y'all
the
had her
country.
saying some funny.
No, and the casting director goes, "What about Doris Roberts?" I go, "Yeah, okay." I go, "Yeah, she just won an Emmy."
Good luck.
She makes about $1 zillion a week on Raymond. I go, "She ain't coming to do this dumb little movie." Doris read it and liked it. And it was so funny because she goes, Doris would like to meet you. She wants to ask a few questions about the script. And in my head, I'm going, oh, so she's going to go, look, I'd love to do this, but can you get rid of this, that. Nothing at all like that.
But when you ask the trio of grandmas, it seems like a lot of the fears around casting them were completely unfounded.
Funny, outrageous, a challenge, different. I've never been in an R-rated movie, neither. No.
I think we all felt that way. I mean, for me, the role of Grace was, I couldn't wait to play the part. And to work in an R-rated comedy, and Adam Sandler's company, and these two ladies that I worked with before, it was ideal.
I personally love working with elderly actors. I think a lot of people forget that they were young at one time, and the material of movies like this are just not as shocking as you would think for them. But as crazy easy as it was to get them on board, the same couldn't be said for Kevin Nealon.
And then this one came to me. And I read, I thought, this is where I got to draw the line, man. It's just too juvenile, it's just too sophomoric, I mean, it really was kind of unsettling. I thought, this is kind of embarrassing to be in this film, It's funny, but, I want to try to take a little higher road,
Yeah.
And then Sandler called me and goes, Neil, I really hope you do this film, because if you don't do it and it's a big hit, I'll feel bad. But if you do it and it's not good, nobody will see it anyway. I said, okay, I'll do it.
Probably the single most shocking original casting of the movie was that of the landlord. Just like Frankie Muniz, it did fall through, but I mean, holy shit. Can you imagine if this guy was in Grandma's Boy?
Landlord at the beginning, which was played by Rob Schneider, but the original casting for that, the landlord was gonna be fucking Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Given Quentin the script, and he loved it,
Yeah,
but
he
he
did.
couldn't schedule it wise, he couldn't do it. Then full circle, I'm on Conan O'Brien's show, and the first guest on Conan was fucking Tarantino, and he was like, hey man, fucking love that movie, man. I love that movie. Oh yeah, Sandler and Covert, man.
To round out the casting, they had to find a Dr. Shakalu who was originally only supposed to be in the movie for a brief bit.
And I realized looking at his resume that when I was in college, I had seen him in a play in New York by an African playwright, and he had a small part in it. And I was like, I saw that play. But then it was funny because we thought he was just funny. And he was really going to only be in one scene. And we found out that he spoke 7 languages. We just added him to all these other scenes, but we wanted to make sure he speaks a different language in every scene.
As much fun as they had in pre-production, it was put up or shut up time going into production. They were working with an incredibly low budget of $5 million, which, to put in perspective, Talladega Nights and Click came out the same year as Grandma's Boy, but they boasted budgets of $72.5 million and $85 million, respectively. But thanks to Alan Covert, this wasn't the massive problem that it could have been.
And it was easy to kind of say, hey, we're shooting for 5 weeks in LA. I got no money. You want to come down and be a part of this? We had David Spade as the vegan, the waiter at the vegan restaurant. It was like, I need you for a half a day.
Yeah.
Drive, okay. Rob Schneider. That was the first day of shooting.
Yeah.
And like
Very
Schneider does not mess around. Schneider showed up with the hair and the costume and their character ready to roll, and I was dying.
And Alan went into this movie with nothing but the utmost confidence.
We got to the shooting. I mean, I knew the character and the script so backwards and forward because we had been writing it for 2 years, trying to find the money to make it. So it was like, by that time, I mean, I knew the script. I knew every word of every character in every scene.
And boy, did they have fun making this movie.
There were nights like that one night where you were doing I want to put a cobra. I had to tell him to leave because he kept giggling.
I laughed all the time.
Anytime.
Oh, and I would break on nearly every
Once
scene.
I
was so unprofessional.
I think they had to change the shot where it was just a tight shot of Joel instead of there is a wide shot, but I had to be out of the wide because when he did the adios turd nuggets, and I fucking broke every time.
But a lot of these classic moments relied on completely improvised dialogue, such as this one.
Adios, turd nuggets.
Completely made up. I think you were just I think Goossen, the director, was just like, okay, I need you to come in and just do some shit.
In fact, they even raised the stakes by completely improvising entire scenes, like this one.
What are you doing, JP?
Just thinking about my game.
Huh. How's that going?
People will bow to it.
All right. That's creepy.
I hate your face.
You're fucking weird.
How can he see me? How Did He See Me is a great one because I don't think that was even in any script. I believe that we were trying to figure out like an improv, a scene as a transition. What if you just kind of acted like you were invisible on the wall? And so he sort of crafted a really fun improv-y weird scene between Alan Covert and I on the spot there, and it became one of the most famous scenes of the film.
Hell, despite being a writer on the movie, Nick Swardson even admitted to heavily ad-libbing.
I just improvise all the time. Like, you know, I was coming off the show Reno 911. I was still on that. But that was all improvised. So I'm like a complete fucking lunatic.
This was really the staple of a lot of these comedies from this era. Notably, the Apatow and McKay films were heavily improvised, but also led to several all-time classics. But the improv in Grandma's Boy was so off the rails that Joel had zero clue what the final movie would even look like.
It was funny to finally see what made it, because I'm like, I don't even remember saying that shit. Because it was one of 20 things that I said in that one take, you know?
That's gotta be fun at least, though. I mean, imagine starring in a movie and then having zero clue what the final product's gonna look like at the premiere. But this was only the beginning of the fun on set, because the monkey led to a whole nother dynamic.
Playdates with the chimp. His name was Harry, the chimp. 5 weeks before the movie, I would have playdates with him at least once a week, sometimes more often, and just play with the chimpanzee, and we became best friends.
But given their budget, this wasn't the famous Crystal the Monkey of American Pie and the Hangover movies. This was store brand, and so it came with instructions.
The trainer told us don't bring pizza on the set.
Or just all hell
because
breaks
he will
loose.
lose his mind.
And with that in mind, it also led to all sorts of scares on set.
He almost ripped Dante's teeth out.
What?
One time he did put his hand in and he applied some pressure to the teeth of Peter Dante, who played Dante. Another time he kind of quasi-lunged at Covert. The craziest thing I saw was when they demonstrated, remember when he jumps down the stairs, they demonstrated him jumping down an actual flight of metal stairs right in front of me. And he jumped and landed with such force, like in a superhero pose. It shook the earth, and it was quite frightening.
Another thing that I found to be particularly interesting was that Dr. Shakalu's wardrobe came with a unique sense of authenticity.
The actual tribesman outfit he had on is his real tribesman gear from Seneca.
But all in all, thanks to the incredibly low budget and Adam Sandler being an all-around cool guy that doesn't micromanage, they were able to make the movie they wanted to make.
But you don't have this experience on every movie, and I'm telling you this in earnest. Like, this was one of the funnest movies I will ever make in my entire life.
Yeah,
because there was no rules. Nobody could control us.
On the set, Nick and I were in charge.
Imagine these fucking idiots in charge of a movie.
That was the great thing about doing, you know, a smaller movie, because there's no expectation.
Which led to this being, to this day, one of the favorite sets of everyone who starred in this movie.
All the movies you've been a part of, do you have a favorite role that you've played?
And I lean towards Grandma's Boy because it was such a love of, you know, it was such a labor of love. I mean, me and Swardson and Barry Wernick wrote it. I produced it, starred in it. It's a good one.
I mean, my proudest is probably, I would say Grandma's Boy.
It was one of the funnest movies that I've ever made because it was just a big ensemble of goofballs that were, you know, that knew what we were making. We weren't trying to make Avatar, we were trying to make Grandma's Boy.
As much fun as they had on set, they were not ready for what was coming when it was released. It started with having no clue as to how they could even find their audience.
This is pre-internet, really, so it wasn't like, there wasn't a mass marketing, there wasn't like, they just didn't know. Like, the internet was kind of coming into fruition, so they were still like, how do we promote this in newspapers and on billboards?
Despite this, the testing of the movie was so unbelievably strong that there was real confidence going into its theatrical release.
3 500-seat theaters, it's a different experience.
Well, that was kind of the sad thing is when we were testing the movie, these packed theaters, and it would just destroy. It played so well. My God. And we were like, oh my God, maybe we do have like this huge hit, but they just had no idea how to market it or get the word out. But I remember watching it with like a full audience, and they didn't know what to expect. And it was awesome, man. It was like
the chairman of Fox high-fived me after one of the screenings and said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I was like, oh, we're golden.
So it was time to go live. And it was not off to a great start when Nick Swardson's grandma watched it opening weekend.
My dad's mom went and saw Grandma's Boy in the theater. And I was like, who told her to do that? She goes, she saw it in the newspaper. There was an ad and it said, co-written by Nick Swardson. So my grandma's like, oh, Nicholaus wrote a movie about me. So my nurse took her in her wheelchair and my grandma walked out of the movie. Walked out of the movie.
Rolled in and walked out.
Yeah, she wrote me a 3-page letter saying I was going to hell.
Though Alan Covert's grandma saw it opening weekend as well, and it went significantly better.
And she called me, and I was like, so what did you think? And she goes, there was this one part I didn't care for. And in my head, I'm like, that could be anything.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a lot of things.
And she just goes, that girl didn't need to take her top off.
With that being said, the movie only opened at just over $3 million and would only gross roughly $6 million, which is definitely a flop. But when you account for the fact that the budget was only $5 million and theaters take roughly half of ticket sales, it wasn't the devastating flop that some would lead you to believe. It was still a pretty tough pill to swallow for the film's director.
I remember a couple weeks before it came out, Adam had called me and said, yeah, dude, it's not going to do well. And I was like, what? Huh?
Alan Covert took it pretty hard as well, saying he threw up when he saw how it performed, but got comfort from one of the Farrelly brothers, who directed the likes of Dumb and Dumber, There's Something About Mary, and Hall Pass.
I can't remember if it was Peter or Bobby, and I'd never met them. And he called and he was like, I saw your movie, it's great. He goes, 10 years from now, no one will remember this day except you. And it's true. And he was like, I've been there. And I realized he was talking about Kingpin.
It surely didn't help the movie's case at all that it got absolutely obliterated by critics. I feel like every fucking time I make one of these videos, I say, this was the rare case of a 2000s comedy that got great reviews by both critics and audiences. But that was not the case at all for this movie. In fact, it got a whopping 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is one of the lowest scores I've ever seen. Some of my favorite critic quotes include, everybody else, however, should stay far, far away. That is, unless you want to bear witness to the excruciating cast of characters that include a kung fu monkey and a guy who talks like a robot whenever he gets nervous. Yes, it's that bad. This is one of those movies where you stay rooted in your seat just to see how bad it can really get. And every time you think it has hit the bottom, the filmmakers find a passage taking them lower. And lastly, I may require therapy after seeing this. Funny enough, my alma mater's newspaper, the Michigan Daily, gave it one of its few good critic reviews, saying, quote, Grandma's Boy, a screwball comedy that mixes video games with pot, partying, and the respected elderly, is simply one of the most enjoyable comedies of the year. As far as I go, I really enjoy this movie. It has a ton of laugh-out-loud hilarious moments.
Well, you wouldn't have to if you just rendered them different colors.
That is a great idea.
Those are the only kind I have.
Don't be mad at us.
It's just a nice, fun, low stakes, turn off your brain, not trying to lecture anyone, and not trying to do anything but entertain you movie. This is the exact kind of movie that we need in theaters now more than ever. It's funny, we just started production on the next movie I'm directing, and I was pleasantly surprised by how many of the cast and crew had seen this movie. And we were also periodically using the JP robot voice on set. By the way, if you want to check out my directorial debut, it's available for free on Tubi. But despite Grandma's Boy's poor showing in theaters, the DVD sales were a completely different story.
It made $5 million in the theaters, and it made over $100 million on DVD.
I mean, damn. $100 million in DVD sales is more than the DVD sales of Anchorman, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Role Models combined. And that doesn't include all the copies that were stolen.
And Sandler introduced me to a guy, and he's like, Rick, do you know Nick Swardson? He's like one of the main writers and co-star of the movie Grandma's Boy. And this guy, Rick, goes, yeah, I know, ugh. And he said that to my face, and I go, oh, what's that about? And he goes, I'm one of the CEOs of Blockbuster Video. And he goes, Grandma's Boy was one of our most stolen movies of all time.
Grandma's Boy's become quite the cult classic, and only seems to grow in popularity. So much so that despite winning 5 Emmy Awards, this was the movie that followed Doris Roberts around.
She would tell me years later, she goes, it's so funny. She goes,
it is.
She goes, I go to colleges and I visited my daughter, her granddaughter or something, and everyone's just like, Grandma, Grandma.
The movie's gotten so big that even Eminem is quoting it.
Eminem signed a poster that he's not in?
Yeah, it was a Grandma's Boy movie poster, and he wrote, like, it was a line from Grandma's Boy. It was one of my lines. It was, It wasn't your shit's week. It was maybe I can't believe you came on my mom. He left, and then I showed up like 15 minutes later. And they're like, dude, you just missed Eminem.
And it turns out my cast and crew and I are not the only ones that the robot voice still resonate with.
How often do you get asked to do the robot voice, which I'm not asking you to do? Every day? Do you hate it or you mind? All right, great.
Speaking of Joel, Grandma's Boy actually shockingly helped him land a role in the single highest grossing trilogy of all time.
Avatar. And I'm meeting James Cameron. You have to have like a big session. He wants to make sure that he can put up with me for 20 years, right? On a long program that we were doing. I get the role. I was up against other big names at the time, but Cameron doesn't care about names. He just, as you can see, Avatar, besides Sigourney Weaver, we were all basically, brand new. 14-hour days of like performance capture and everything, and I'm talking to Cameron and I'm like, hey, why me? Well, the one thing that I do is I go and I take these tapes and I give it to my kids, and they come back to me and they kind of like, I know who I want to go, but they tell me what they like. One of my kids came up and he goes, you should get the guy from Grandma's Boy. In a way, I got to thank you for a 20-year
Dude, I never knew that.
Span.
So
I didn't tell you this.
No. Grandma's Boy also left a strong enough impression on Adam Sandler that he added Nick Swardson to his inner circle, where he's gone on to do countless collaborations with him, including Click, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, and You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Alan Covert remains a close friend of Sandler as well, collaborating with him as recently as 2023 with Leo. As far as sequels go, Nick Swardson has been pretty adamant about it not happening.
Sequels are so tricky, especially with comedy. Thought about it for a minute. The only sequel I ever wanted to do really bad, and I had thought of a whole concept, was Benchwarmers 2.
Though both Joel and Alan have sung a different tune.
Nick Swardson and I go back and forth all the time. Should we just do this? Should we just do a fun, weird sequel that doesn't have to make any money, but it's just for the fans who loved it?
Without revealing anything that I'm not legally allowed to say, there might be a surprise or two in the future.
Oh.
Related to Grandma.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff. There's always something percolating, but there's a thing we were talking about recently that could be a fun way to do something that's not really a sequel, but would make everyone very happy.
Whether there's a sequel or not, I really love how close the cast remains to this day.
I mean, we're all still friends. Joel David Moore, who played the robot guy.
He lives like right up the street.
Yeah, he does.
He's in
I
the
just
same
had
neighborhood.
lunch with him. He's a really close friend. I still run into Jonah every once in a while. I haven't seen Linda in a minute, but yeah, we're all close.
But what I love even more is the extent to which both Nick and Alan have the same goal as me, and that's bringing these 2000s-style Grandma's Boy-esque comedies back to the big screen.
I have one mission in life. I want to bring back R-rated comedies to the movie theater.
Please. But that's my goal, is to get movies back, in the theaters, but that kind of comedy where I love all those movies that I was a part of, like Grandma's Boy, Benchwarmers.
But maybe the craziest thing about all of this is that Grandma's Boy might not even be the biggest cult classic comedy of 2006. Because Idiocracy came out that same year, though it didn't have the smooth ride that Grandma's Boy had, and instead was sabotaged by the studio at every turn. Because they gutted its budget, made decisions that are still being questioned today, and even tried to hide its release from the public. But it goes so much deeper than this. And I take you on this wild ride here.